I'm Anthony D'Alessandro.
I'm Dominic Patton. Welcome to Deadline's Insider on The Boys from Prime Video.
What is this? This is Herogasm.
What was your first impression when you read the Herogasm script?
Honestly, thank God I'm not in it much.
It just was one of those situations where you're looking around and you're like, I don't know what caused me to get here and have this be my job, but I'm so happy that they led me down the trajectory of being here.
I was so mad that I wasn't in it.
You know what? Honestly, my first impression of the script was very well done. That was like my first thought.
In my years of being in this business, I never thought we'd be able to get away with shooting that episode. Very gooey, very sticky.
I think everyone needed therapy after that episode. And that week of shooting, I got there at the end after they had to go through the sequence of blowing everything and setting everything up. And I got there at the end. The people were walking around with these hollowed eyes like they'd been at war and they had a 1,000-yard stare.
I'll be honest, I was pretty nervous about that. I was like, where does this rank on the scale of like losing sleep at night to things my parents are gonna have to see? It's gonna live everywhere on the internet. I'm like, that ranks pretty high, bestiality. So I was like, oh man, I think I called Grippy like pretty stressed.
It's not what it looks like.
What was funny was his reaction. He was kind of like, well, man, no, we're not gonna force you to do anything you don't want to do, but why now? Why this thing after all the stuff we've made you do? I think the crew might have had it worse than I did. I think they saw some things they can't ever unsee.
Me and my team spent about 3 months in that fitting room with naked people, making sure everybody was comfortable and happy. It's not just at that point designing, a costume and putting it on and covering someone. It's, designing the costume, the approvals, the bleeping out certain parts on the illustrations and on the fitting photos.
Lord of the Seven Seas, wow. Oh man, I'm such an incredible fan.
Jesus, Tommy, slather his bowls in peanut butter, why don't we?
We looked at some pretty big places, and one of the places that we looked at, it had such sort of 70s swingers vibe to it, such great architecture. I sort of locked it away in my memory banks. And then I knew the Herogasm episode was coming. And so I had sort of all along decided I was going to pitch this location to Eric Kripke.
Yeah, it did have a big shift from the comic, that particular element. In the comic, it was like lavish and a beautiful mansion with servants and like the height of luxury. But we all kind of realized like, it'd just be grosser.
It should be
that.
seedy and gross. What is the audience expecting this to be? And then how do we subvert that? By giving them something that's every bit as shocking, but not graphically, narratively.
Yeah, and also a little graphic.
But a little bit.
One night, there was a ruckus outside. I looked out the window, and it was Soulja Boy. He had pulled up on some kids that were trying to boost the Benz. And so I run, wake up my granddad. Grandpa, it's Soulja Boy. Come look. Soulja Boy takes the Benz, hurls it through our house like a fucking freight train. It missed me by about 6 inches. But my grandpa, one minute he was there, and then he wasn't.
The Herogasm episode in season 3 is obviously inspired by the 6-issue comic series that came out in 2009, but it's so very different in so many ways. What were some of the challenges you faced in this adaptation?
It's just a fan favorite from the comic. It's something that the comic fans are like, you better do this and you better do it well because we're waiting for it and we want it to be awesome.
The way that we framed it in our heads was, how do we take this batshit crazy concept and turn it into something that is both necessary to the story and fun for the story? Because the idea of a superhero orgy is obviously absurd. And so we knew we had to lean into the absurdity while balancing the absurdity with, harder emotional beats that are driven by character.
That episode had everything all wrapped up in one. It had emotional story points. It had the ridiculousness of our episode. And it also had, when he faced off with Soulja Boy, and he held up his fist, and he was ready to die to avenge his family.
And that was a question that we just constantly asked ourselves is, can we make Herogasm necessary to our story? And if we couldn't make it necessary, then we wouldn't have done it.
I saved you, Annie. Jesus Christ, all I want is to save you.
You keep saying that, but I don't need you to save me.
Right, God forbid I help you, because I always have to be the weak one. The one you have to rescue. You always have to be the strong one. You always have to be so much stronger than me.
As we were breaking the season and breaking our characters' arcs, we needed a place to have everyone collide together. And Herogasm ended up being the best place to do that because it was the kind of setting that The Boys, I think, prides itself on, in having this absurd place and having all of these absurd sex acts happening in the background, and at the same time having these like huge conflicts between our characters driving the story.
We've been hearing about it for years and years and years, and even I was like, I don't know what we're gonna do with Herogasm. Like, I have no idea. You know, it can be a side thing that sort of just doesn't really marry into the show, but the way that it was introduced into our storyline, the way that they've used it to sort of bend the arc a little bit, I think was superb.
There are a lot of people in there.
Well, as long as they stay out of my way, they'll be fine.
I was nervous. I didn't know what was going to happen. It was bound to be a pretty explicit episode.
Obviously, you know, I don't know. I've never been to an orgy before. It was a bit strange at first, but by that point, you know, I had been naked because of the teleportation quite a few times, so I was a little bit more used to it, I guess.
You really had me going for a minute there. Oi.
Can you tell us about the origins of the epic Homelander versus Butcher versus Soldier Boy battle?
Well, I'll just say one word and then let these guys run with it because they know him better than me. But John Koyama.
We actually met him on the Green Hornet originally, which was
you kept him.
And
Wow.
we kept him. Yeah, that movie has great action. That was around 10 years, over 10, 12 years ago.
And then we
I
did
guess.
Preacher with him, which was another Garth Ennis property.
Yeah, and that had a lot of fighting and a lot of action in it, and he just became someone that we like relied very heavy on, and like any other like close creative collaboration, he became someone that we like just worked very well with.
Herogasm was, that was probably the most talked about sequence of the entire season. The fight sequence itself was just so epic in that just the characters involved. Obviously, you know, Homelander, Butcher, and Soldier Boy, and then of course Huey comes in at the end as well. This series is really special in that Kripke is so invested in it and so in tune with the characters and how it's all driven by that. So even though it is a superhero, so to speak, series, he stresses being grounded.
You know, he always says like, well, what story are we telling with this fight? Yeah. You know, and he wants to drill down on what's the fight about and more than just the fight. You know, for the example of the Herogasm fight, that was Homelander realizing for the very first time that he could get his ass kicked.
Do it! Joey! Get out of here! No fucking way!
For your consideration, the boys.
Well, there's actually quite a lot of emotion.
A lot of emotion in there. That's what we do also.
The reason I think Herogasm worked is because it was shocking emotionally.
I'm in Montpelier, Vermont. 12 heroes and civilians are dead. A lot more are wounded. Now, Homelander and Vought are going to tell you that it was the supervillain and that they have it handled. They don't. It was Soldier Boy. I know I sound insane, but Soldier Boy doesn't care about protecting Americans, and he probably never has. Most heroes don't care about you. They only care about their image, and Homelander is the worst of them. He's hurt people. He's done something to Maeve. I don't know what they're gonna do to me for telling the truth, but I'm going to keep doing it, and I should have done it sooner. I'm sorry. And one more thing. I'm not Starlight anymore. My name is Annie January, and I fucking quit.